Hello fellow thinkers and welcome to Things I Think, April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So, we are going to be talking about the fear of saying no after being assaulted. Throughout high school, I had problems when I became uncomfortable during intimacy or just with another person, like sexually, even if it's just kissing and then they just started touching me in a weird spot, even if it was just my side. I had issues getting the words out. I don't want to. No. Stop. They wouldn't come out. And I thought it was just a me thing before I read this article. But this article gave me assurance that it's not just a me thing, and it's actually a thing, if that makes sense to you. And this article is pretty on point. It talks about reasons why survivors would not be able to say no or struggle with it. And one of the reasons was they feel like they don't have the right to say no. And I remember thinking that, just having it so ingrained in my head. I remember feeling that I didn't have a right to my own body. That it wasn't my right to tell them no, that they couldn't do something, because I've been violated so many times and not listened to, that clearly it was useless and pointless to say no, because no didn't mean anything. They always won. Other reasons listed are they do not have the bias or the understanding of what a real and healthy relationship is, so they feel like all sexual relations are forced, and that's what they just think. And that does sound silly, but it happens. I know that for me, I was in a very unhealthy relationship from my first serious relationship, where I was pressured into things and talked down to, verbally abused, mentally abused, and I just took that as the norm. And the people I dated treated me like crap. And that was infused into my brain as what normally happens. And how he disrespected my body, I took as how people treat women. That's how I learned from my first boyfriend. And it's bad. But it does happen where people infuse their brains to think something completely unhealthy. Other reasons could be that their religion says that they don't have the right to say no. Another is not realizing that I deserved respect, not having self-confidence. That's another reason why people have trouble saying the word no, because they don't realize they deserve to say no, which also ties in kind of with not realizing having the right to say no, but it's still on one of the things that they listed. This article is really making me realize that the sexual assaults have affected me in ways I didn't even realize, that my actions throughout relationships were affected because of what has happened to me. It states that people who struggle showing affection, and who it talks about how people who are unable to say no end up doing things sexually that make them uncomfortable, and I did that all the time in high school. And looking back, and even in high school, I did not feel proud. I did not like it, but I didn't know how to say no. And I'm not talking about sex. For some reason, that was the one thing I could shut down on. Normally it was more like a tear thing and just start crying, and it was not a pretty sight if you were trying to force me to do something like that. But saying no was hard because of what had happened before when I tried. It was actually to the point where when I was dating someone, they either needed to see the look in my eyes when I was uncomfortable, or I would tap their shoulder to be like, no, I can't, I'm done, stop. Because other than that, I could not say no. It sucks that it had that effect on me to that extent, that it has harmed my life in that way. But finding this resource has been very illuminating and enlightening, and I hope that it helps others and realize that they're not the only ones who've struggled with the word no after being assaulted once or twice or many times more than that. And it says on here that you need to overcome the fear and to practice saying no. No, I don't like extra cheese on my pizza. No, I don't want to go shopping. Maybe that's silly, but there are also other tactics. One of the things that talks about is reassuring yourself that saying no does not mean it will result in rape. It makes a lot of sense for those who have said no and got raped, for having the word no be something to fear. If you have a problem saying no, you should really come up with a system with your partner, if you're in a relationship, that makes them understand that when you're uncomfortable, you're going to tap them, or that you will roll your wrist. I don't know. Make up your own thing. What was most effective for me is tapping on the shoulder, or if you couldn't reach the shoulder, just maybe a certain number of taps, because no matter what you're doing, if you're engaging in sexual activities or whatever, if you tap them, they can realize. You need to know that you can say no, that you have the right to say no, and don't be afraid of saying no. Because, yeah, sure, maybe you weren't listened to once or twice in the past, but never stop voicing your opinions. And as much as you can, never let your fear for what happened to you in the past affect what you let people do to you in the present and in the future. Know that you deserve respect and your body is sacred. And even though things have happened to you in the past, you need to know that you still have the right to say no, that you are a treasure, a beautiful treasure, no matter what has happened. You are perfect, and you have the rights, just as anybody else, to refuse something sexual, something that you don't want. If you don't want it, you can say no. You can say stop. You can imply it, and even if you aren't verbally saying it and you're crying, that's still a no. If you've come up with a system and they're not sticking to the system because they're doing what they want to do, that's still not listening to you. And even though people have not listened in the past, never let that affect what you let other people do to you in the present and the future. Because I can tell you, looking back, I wish I had more strength. I wish I didn't go along with things in high school because I was uncomfortable and I was too afraid to say no. You have so much more strength than you know. You are a survivor, which means you are strong as hell because you've continued on. So, try to overcome the fear and thrive every day. One day at a time, right? Alright, that's all I think for now. Keep thinking, like, and subscribe for more. And I'm going to get out of here. Bye.